All right, everybody. This is Level Up Luke. Welcome to the Charlotte FC postgame Twitter Spaces. On a very special Saturday, we have three Charlotte professional teams in action simultaneously. Right now, I'm watching the Carolina Ascent close out their 2-0 win over Brooklyn, who has some pretty cool uniforms, maybe second best in the league, but they're losing 2-0 at American Legion Memorial Stadium. Independence is currently up on the road, and our Charlotte FC were victorious 3-0 over DC United. Wow, what an evening. We have Ash Hamrick, friend of the program. What are you up to, Ash? How was your game watching experience today?
Luke, I'm a happy man right now, and I'll tell you why. Assuming that the results hold, I'm going to knock on wood here because I don't want to jinx it. This Saturday, it's not going to be a 3-point Saturday. It's not going to be a 6-point Saturday. It's going to be a 9-point Saturday. Charlotte is on fire in the world of soccer. You got the Carolina set up 2-0 in the 94th minute. You got Charlotte Independence holding on to their 2-1 lead currently. I'm a happy man. And you got Charlotte FC knocking DC United straight out of the playoffs and climbing up to fifth, where let's remember where all the MLS so-called experts predicted us to finish this season. Like
Yeah,
13th, 14th.
13th, 13th in the East.
We finished fucking fifth. Hold that.
Yeah, that's right, man. It's pretty wild. We were actually in the position that DC United found themselves in tonight last year, where we hosted Miami at home with Lionel Messi. We got the win, and that catapulted us into that wild card game. And obviously, New York Red Bulls handled us at that point. But DC United, not so fortunate. Charlotte FC was the better team. I mean, flat out, you could tell the difference. Charlotte FC looks like a playoff team right now. DC United does not. So this run of form, this recent run of form for Charlotte FC continues. 3 goals. Our goal differential for the season increases. We're looking really good right now. I got to say, Pep Biel turned the game around with that first goal on a Brant Bronico assist. Tell me about what were you thinking when Charlotte gets that kind of breakaway play, Ash, in the second half?
I think it completely just demoralized DC United because as soon as Pep Biel scored that goal, we were relentless. And you could tell by the time Patrick Achiman scored the second goal, DC had given up. They had completely given up on trying to salvage anything from this game and completely relied on hope that Orlando would beat or draw Atlanta United. And hope is a good thing to have, but it's not a tactic. You can't rely on it. You have to control your own destiny. And that's what Charlotte FC did this season. And I just want to give a quick shout out. The goal scorers were great, but Brant Bronico, this guy has been getting stick all season. And today he proved why he is undroppable for this team. No one works harder on this team than Brant Bronico. And today it finally paid off. I think grabbing 2 assists, and they were really good assists as well. Brant Bronico is Charlotte through and through, and I hope he stays on this team for years upon years and continues to produce performances like this one.
Yeah, I was listening to one of the podcasts over the last few days, and they mentioned, Bronico and Westwood seem like club legend type players. I have to say, Bronico playing since day one, this guy's an MLS level player. He brings a mindset, an approach to the team, a physicality that I think benefits the roster overall. It's the kind of guy you want to have in a locker room, you want to have in your squad. And I agree with you. I hope he stays with Charlotte for a very long time. We have some friends of the program that are on right now. Billy messaged me. He is unable to speak, but he's going to listen in. Feel free to send in any questions, Billy. I will ask them to our group here. We got Len Cornacchia joining us as always. We got Mint City Matthew. Thank you guys for joining in. you have any questions, feel free to drop me a tweet. Feel free to request to speak. I'll give you an approval, get you up here. Len, we got a 9 point Saturday in the works. It looks like it just got thrown off though. Charlotte Independence
Yeah, it's turned into a
was
7 point Saturday, but Carolina Ascent
yeah.
has won their game.
Yeah, Carolina Ascent's gone final. Charlotte Independence got robbed at the last minute. I guess one of our players, a goal was called back, even though he looked to be at least 2 yards onside. They called it back for offside. There's no VAR in USL one, but it's looks like a 7 point Saturday. That's still pretty damn good. Charlotte Independence has clinched the playoffs, so they will continue on. Carolina sent undefeated, and Charlotte FC sends DC United packing out of the playoff picture. Len, tell me about your evening. What were you watching? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, wow, what a game, huh? The first half didn't look kind of rough. You know, we were not we were just kind of holding down the fort and keeping them out of the goal most of the time. I wasn't very encouraged the way the first half ran, to be honest with you. But second half was a totally different story. I think they had to come offensively and try to exert themselves or assert themselves a lot deeper. And I think we just took advantage of that. And I got to give credit to the team because I think Dino knew what he was doing. He was just absorbing the pressure and waiting for his chances because he knew that eventually they'd have to come and start to bring more players and commit more players up front to the final third, and that left them exposed in the back. And we were pretty ruthless the way we took advantage of that. So that was awesome.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I had a chance to listen to the commentary on this game. I was watching on my cell phone while I was getting some work done and on the way home. And Eric Krakauer was saying that, Charlotte FC has a tremendous record when they are ahead in the game, when they score first. And that is something I think is one of the biggest turnarounds from last season. Last season, we could not stop giving away points, whether it was at home, on the road. This year, when Charlotte FC scores first, it's over. I mean, for the most part, I think 19 games we've come out with results, if memory serves. Um, and we don't allow a lot of points either, a lot of goals to get scored on us first. 11 clean sheets, 12 clean sheets, something like that.
Yeah,
So,
I think what you're saying is, I mean, look, think about last year. The first half, as ragged as it was, we didn't allow a goal. Last year, I don't think that would have been the case. You know, and I think that's the difference. He's our back line, and not just the back line, but like Eric Krakauer said, or I think the other announcer said, that the team is very disciplined to have two lines of four players, and they both know, kind of when to collapse and when to make that final third really hard to penetrate. So that's what Dean Smith has really brought to this team: this ability to weather the storms and then counter when the opportunity arises. It was really fun to watch that second half.
yeah, I totally agree. We have Queen's pitch here. I'm assuming it's Bridget. Tell me about
Yeah,
your experience tonight watching the game.
yeah, it was crazy. I was gonna give you a stats, and you know how I don't normally do stats, but I heard Eric say that it was 12, 1, and 5 when we have scored first. So now it's 13, 1, and 5 when we score first, which is way different than last year by far. Um,
Yeah.
I agree with Lynn. The first half was really off, like really weird. At first, I was just like, I couldn't figure anything out. I was so confused. Karen and I were like, what in the world's going on? It was like they didn't have it together, but I guess they did, more than we thought. Anyway, like Dean said, he changed a lot up at the half. He talked to Bronico, had Bronico, change up a little bit, and whatever he did, it worked. It was awesome. I think Dean is definitely he knows what he's doing for sure.
How
And
did
Bronico's super
Dean's
excited. He said it's like you come full circle. We lost to them the first game 0-3, and then we win tonight to go shut them out of the playoffs and to go to the playoffs by 3-0. So he was very proud of that.
how was Dean in the press conference? How was his mood? Was he really excited or
Oh, and I have something to say about Carroll. I noticed about Carroll tonight. He made me like him a little bit more. I'm not going to be on the Carroll bandwagon by no means, but he instead of being the one, which he should take shots, I get it, but he was passing. He was wanting, Jamie to have a chance. He passed it to Bronico twice. He was being very teamwork type, and I really appreciate that about him. He seemed like he was trying to work with the team and not just for himself. Although he should, I think, have took 2 of those shots himself.
I was going to say, I agree. I like to see the teamwork, especially when we're already up. But, you kind of want your striker to take those shots when they have them. Vargas had a really good opportunity. I thought he could have scored. He was a little half a second more disciplined on that one almost wide open shot. But Bridget, how was Dean in the post game? Did you have a chance to listen to the press conference or hear any of his comments?
I did. He was really happy. He was happy with what happened. He said that he did talk to Carol and Leo last night and was like, "Are you ready to play?" And they were both like, "Yeah, we can go tomorrow. Go tomorrow." But he thought Vargas did really well and Patrick did really well. He was really impressed with them. What they did, and he knew that Carol and Leo could come off the bench and provide what they needed at the end. I feel like Dean knew this game was going to go this way the whole time. Like, he wasn't like where we were all freaked out and struggling in the first half to be like, what in the world? I really, like Glenn said, I think that was part, not like that they were being that crazy, but that was part of his plan. He wasn't trying to go out and score in that first half. He was just trying to wear them out, I think, to a certain extent. But he was very happy with the team. He's very excited where he's got them. He said he didn't really think that he'd be this high up at the beginning of the season, but his teams worked really, really hard to get here, and he's very proud of them.
Hey, I have a question. I have a question, and I wonder if somebody could. We should. I'll look at this after we get off. How many teams have played DC twice and held Benteke scoreless?
Golden Boot.
I'll bet not many.
Not many, because isn't he in the lead for the Golden Boot right now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a testament to our defense, and most of all, your goalie of the year, Christian fucking Kalina.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did really well. I think that
What
line
happens?
was awesome.
What happens when an unstoppable force meets an unmovable object? That unmovable object did not move. Another clean sheet for Christian Kalina.
I think Dino needs his own wine label called Kalina Sheets. I mean, at this point, he's buying enough. He might as well have one.
Except Kalina doesn't drink right now, they say.
Oh.
That's fun.
He's giving his wine away. I think he's giving it to Burn. I'm just kidding. I know he's giving it away. He said he's not drinking right now because we asked
Burn seems like a wine guy, if I had to guess.
One day after, like one presser after the one night after, like at home in the Fortress, after the presser, we were all just standing there, and next thing you know, we see Burn just walk by, casual clothes and everything. He had wine bottle under both arms. It was awesome. I was like, he's such a pimp.
I love
That's
Burn.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
man.
He did on that. No, Burn did really, really well tonight. Burn was on fire, and
I was going to say absolutely. Yeah, he played up the wing really well. So, Carolina Ascent remains undefeated, first place in the league, the USL Super League. Anybody have a chance to watch any of the Ascent game?
I watched the second half of it, and it looked like Brooklyn had a majority of the possession, but Carolina was creating the better chances. It's just that Brooklyn's keeper is insane. And honestly, Carolina Ascent probably should have had about 5 or 6 goals. But it was no question on who the better team was. Carolina Ascent really deserved that win.
Yeah, I agree. And Brooklyn is in second place in the league. So this was like a top of the table clash. Actually, return fixture because Ascent just played them to a draw on the road in Brooklyn. And they came back here to Legion and Ascent with the big win tonight. They were giving away free beer steins before the game. It was like an Oktoberfest promotional game. So I'm disappointed that I missed it. I was really looking at getting tickets, but I just had too much work to do today. Len knows how that goes. But
I do.
Yeah. So, Ascent with the win. Charlotte Independence looks like they could have had 2 more goals, but the officials called back 2 of them, holding Independence to a draw. last game of the regular season. They are going into the playoffs. They are in playoff position. Let me see where they finished. I'm curious. Yeah, Charlotte Independence is in 6th place going into the playoffs on 31 points, and they will be playing. It looks like the Northern Colorado Hailstorm in Colorado, first round of the playoffs. So that's not great. They're kind of a rival. Nobody really likes Northern Colorado. They're douchebags. They're like the New York Red Bulls of USL One.
So, quick question: what is the standings in the Southern Championship?
Charlotte FC clinched with a win over DC tonight. Charlotte has clinched the series against each of the Southern Championship rivals, I believe. I'll have to double check that, but I believe Charlotte FC wins over every team and the overall standings.
So when do we get our belt?
I believe it's during the off-season supporters conference, because that belt is managed by the international supporters group, of which Charlotte FC has groups that are members. So it's like a big conference they have during the off-season. Nashville is the reigning back-to-back winner of the Southern Championship. So feel free to give your Nashville friends a little bit of shit today as they miss out on the playoffs and we take their belt from them.
Hey, Luke, if Bridget's still on, I wonder if Dean or if anybody asked when we find out when our playoff games are.
We don't know yet. We should know tomorrow.
Cool.
That's what we were told that we should know tomorrow. And who knows if the MLS will release it before they tell everybody else, but they said that it'll come out tomorrow.
That sounds about right. I believe we're looking at November 2nd or 3rd. Or wait, no. What was it?
It can't be
2nd or
November
4th.
3rd because the Panthers play the 3rd.
Yeah, 2nd or 4th. Because it's not going to be Election Day, most likely on the 5th, and it's not going to be the Sunday because of the Panthers.
And I assume the first game is going to be away sometime around next weekend, right?
Yeah. At least we don't have a Beyonce concert to compete with this time.
That is true. I wonder if there are going to be tickets available for Orlando for Charlotte fans.
Probably, I would imagine.
May have to call the front office on Monday just in case. Just while we're on the subject of Charlotte fans going to away games, did anybody hear towards the end of the broadcast? I think Kalina made a really good save, but you could hear Kalina chants through the broadcast. How many supporters were in DC tonight?
They took some crowd shots during the game. It looked like the section for the away supporters was pretty full. I couldn't tell, but there were at least a couple hundred there, if not more.
They said there was a lot there, and then I heard the chants too. But after it was over, like during the presser, somebody asked, and they said there was a good amount of people there.
I heard 700 made the trip.
Oh, wow. That's big. That's awesome.
Yeah. It was definitely a huge crowd. I heard that Kalina chant at the end, and I was laughing too, Ash. That was very funny. Congrats to all of our fans that made the trip up there. And Len, I agree, man. I'm interested to see about the Orlando ticket situation. Depending on how that falls, the first game, that might be a worthwhile road trip or quick flight down there.
Yeah, really. No kidding. All right, let's see what happens.
Ash, hey Ash, can you fly to Orlando?
Possibly.
That would be hilarious. Yeah, so great game. Any thoughts as we go into the playoff as far as playing against Orlando first round? What do we think about that matchup?
I mean, we have a lot to get even for, in a way, at least away, because we did not play well, if I remember, in Orlando when we went down there earlier this year. I think at home. Did we tie them or win at home? I can't remember.
We tied and lost to them, I believe, in Charlotte, right? We tied them on the road.
No, we tied in Charlotte and then lost
We
on the
tied
road
in
because I
Charlotte and
think
lost on the road.
that's when Bronico scored that would-be winner. But I think we were a man down that game because Ajiman got sent off. Or no, Artfield got sent off.
That's when he got the red card. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, at home.
Yeah, we tied them 2-2 in June back at home. And
Yeah. Right before Arfield left us. Rip.
I think the away supporters are in 108, 109 at Orlando. And right now they got tickets starting at like $22.
Hell yeah.
wow.
Including travel, it might be cheaper to see a game there than at Bank of America.
That's good.
Fucking Tepper.
I think that's the corner that they've been putting us on.
Yeah, we lost in Orlando 2-0 September 18th, so that's still fresh enough in the players' heads that they're going to want to, I think they'll be motivated to play better.
Man, I remember the first time we played on the road in Orlando, year one. They were chanting "fuck Charlotte." Like their fans in the stadium were chanting "fuck Charlotte," and you could hear it through the TV. And it's like, why are you taking shots at us? Like, there's no history of a rivalry between Orlando and Charlotte. It's our first year in the league. It was so weird.
Well, the first time we went down there, their tifo was of a slot machine and said, "You're here because Vegas wasn't ready." And it's like, Vegas really hasn't been an option.
But they've been in conversations, but like they're not in the conversation for an MLS team that I'm aware of.
I mean, they finished 1 point ahead of us, guys. 1 point ahead of us. And so we can win. We can win that first round.
And right
Basically,
now, we have the momentum.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Scotty Arfield's red card is basically why they're hosting the game and not us.
That's a good point.
I have my Twitter pulled up right now, and I have a picture that's really interesting. It's all the predictions that we had at the beginning of the season of where Charlotte FC would end up from the MLS experts. I'm just going to read them out. 14th, 15th, 14th, 14th, 14th,
In the East.
14th, in the East, yes. 12th, 12th, 15th, 13th, 11th, 13th, 13th. Bradley Wright Phillips got the closest prediction correct, or like was the closest to being right with 11th in the East. Hold that, MLS experts.
I'm not defending those picks by any stretch, but to be fair, after the way last season ended with Latanzio and all the kind of, not knowing what style of soccer we were playing, and just the kind of craziness around the team last year, and Dean Smith being an unknown, you can almost understand them all doing that. It was very poorly wrong, and I think the team used it as motivation. But at the same time, you can almost understand why they did that because, it seemed like, well, ninth last year, we didn't get any of the DPs that we were looking for. If you remember, we lost Swiderski when the season started, so we didn't have BL, we didn't have Abada, we didn't have Tim Ream. So you can almost understand why they were doing that. I felt well, at least they should have picked us ninth to stay where we ended last season. I thought it was kind of a disrespectful thing to put us all the way down there, but I could see why they didn't have us too high.
Yeah, I mean, like I didn't expect them to like put us in fourth or anything, but come on, not even making the playoffs when we beat Lionel Messi without a proper head coach. I mean,
I agree.
come on.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. And we had basically the same team,
Exactly.
except for Swiderski.
So,
which we at that point we didn't have when we started the season.
so I say again, the entirety of MLS can hold that.
There you go.
Good motivation. Man. I've had that as like one of my pet peeves for 2 years now. going back to last season. So at the beginning of the season, I resurrected their bad takes from the first 2 years. And now year three, I just highlighted it and I said, here are your predictions again. Have you not learned from your mistakes the last 2 years? Obviously not. Because every year they take us to finish 11th at best and, last place in the East at worst. And we almost made the playoffs the first year. We did make the playoffs the second year by beating Lionel Messi, and here we are, fifth place in the East. Um, you know, each year we've had roster problems, we've had concerns, we've had challenges, but we find a way to overcome it. And a lot of that, I think, goes to the one thing that's been pretty consistent uh, from the start: our front office. I think you got to give it to them. They're making the best with what they have, and they have a roster that is not traditionally constructed. It's relying a lot on less super draft players, the um, the B team Crown Legacy, which is bringing up talent and developing it and creating starters for the first team, and then also, I mean, you look at underserved European players when there's not a good fit or when they miss on a player, they're pretty quick to move on and try to find another solution. They're not going to stick with a player that's not working. But when a player is working or when they need more time, more development, I feel like they're doing a pretty good job of putting in that effort. What do you guys think about giving the front office a little bit of props on Charlotte's continual overperformance,
I
despite
think I
three
agree.
coaches?
I agree with you, Luke. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I agree 100%. I think Zoran Cornetta got a lot of slack from some people after the last transfer window. And I listened to him, I forget which podcast it was. It was either on
He was on Crown Corner,
Crown
and
Corner.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
he was on another one.
And he was explaining how difficult it is in the summer transfer window because the European transfer window closes at the end of August and ours closes before the middle of August. And a lot of teams, and anybody who follows global soccer knows this, a lot of teams and players wait to the last week or so or last minute before they make their deals because they want to see the best offers that come in for the players. So we are very much, MLS as a whole, is very much at a disadvantage in trying to get top players from Europe who have that August 30th transfer window. And that was the difficulty. And he said that was a difficulty he had in trying to get some of the players. So I think they've done a good job. The question I have, Luke, for you, maybe for anybody, is number one, did we resign Pet BL? Number two, what do you think is going to happen with Swiderski? And number three, if we have a chance to upgrade positions before the season starts in the winter transfer window, which ones do we go for?
So last question first. I think we still need an answer at Cam. We'll see how Pep Biel does in the playoffs. I'm happy with its performance so far as kind of a fill in the gap player. I don't know enough about his contract situation or the loan agreement to really have a strong opinion about whether we should re-sign or just keep our search going. But I'm satisfied with what I've seen so far. Let's see what happens, in the playoffs. Striker, I think, is still a big question mark. I want to keep Patrick Ajiman. To be frank, I want Swiderski to do well, but I don't really have a strong opinion whether he stays or goes in the offseason. I would almost rather he go so we can just move on from that whole conversation. Um, but I think it's too early to really get into the transfer talk and offseason, conversation because right now it's the playoffs and it's a completely different conversation if we bomb out of the playoffs in the first round or if we make a run. So I think that influences a lot of how we approach the transfer window. Dave, what do you think?
I like the creativity that Pep's brought. Um, he seemed to be that piece that was missing that got Patrick and Carroll and Abada all clicking. And I've heard that he wants to be here in Charlotte, that he would like to re-sign with us next year. So I'm with you. See how the playoff run goes. It's going to be a tough one, but he's definitely made a difference. I mean, comparing him to Arfield or even Brett, it's night and day. So As far as Carroll, I think playoffs matter too. Um, I think it's going to depend on our DP targets also, because I don't think Carroll's going to get off of that DP contract and let us go for uh, bigger players in other positions. But it's just up in the air. That playoff run's going to make a big difference.
Isn't Carroll's contract up at the end of the season? Wasn't he a 3-year deal when he first signed him?
Yeah, it's up at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Club just sent out an email saying that we will have times and dates tomorrow evening for that first round.
All right.
Do we not
Oh
have an
yeah.
extra option for Swiderski or an extra year option?
I think we have flexibility on him in the offseason. I don't think he's a free agent at the end of the season.
I
I don't know
think
if
it
it's an
was
option year
originally a
or what.
2-year with an option for the third. I don't know. I'll do some
Yeah,
Googling.
yeah. I haven't looked up the roster in a minute, but I could have sworn we have them next year too.
Yeah, I
Well,
understand. Look, you're probably right. You got to see how the playoffs. I can see your point. You got to see how the playoffs go and how we do and see where our needs are. But keep in mind, BL tonight did not play in the cam position. He played on the wing. Um, so with Abada not starting, they put him out on the right wing a little bit. He was pretty. I mean, he was okay. He didn't see enough. He didn't see a lot of the ball, especially in the first half. But the thing about him is that he's got an instinct for the game where he knows how to pass and move into space. He has a good, really sense of space and how to use it. And tonight he pounced on that opportunity when it came to him. So I like him. I would resign him if I had the choice because I think he's got that thing that you can't teach. It's understanding how to use space and how to take the ball, move it off, and then move into space and keep the ball going down the field.
yeah,
Got a really
it's
good
it's a
instinct
really
for that.
good first touch. I think is part of it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
um, which we don't see from a lot of our players. So it's kind of refreshing.
Honestly, where I am with Biel is I would love to sign him um after this year, but not as a designated player. We we have to be better at getting our top targets for designated players, and we need like a Lucho Acosta or Cucho Hernandez or Christian Benteke. We need that one player that just stands out from the league. And if we get that player, we could be unstoppable. But yeah, I would definitely sign Pep Biel after this season, but probably not as a designated player.
Yeah, Ash, and you know what, too? I agree with that 100%. And how well we do in the playoffs may determine how well we can attract those players that we want to be real top notch designated players. So I think the playoffs for us are not only about trying to get a cup, but it's also about trying to attract the top players. I keep thinking like I was out listening to one of the podcasts the other day. I think I was listening to Bridget's podcast and her kids. And I thought to myself, one of the nice things about Tim Ream on the team is that, Tim Ream's going to the US men's national team, and you got to think in the locker room they're asking him, what's it like playing in Charlotte, you know? And so I think anything positive, any good positive publicity, because we're fighting LA, New York, Miami, but all the places where players want to play. But the more kind of, I don't know, the more seeds we can spread around the league and around the world, that Charlotte's a great place to come and play. And they've got a team that they're putting together a team that's worth paying attention to. I think that's really good for us.
Could we try to get
Yeah,
Weston
man,
McKennie from Juventus
we
Who's that?
absolutely could.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Justin McKinney, because wasn't he linked with Cincinnati?
in the summer? Yeah.
Yeah, in the summer,
Yeah,
yeah, it was.
I mean, he's linked, and now with Ponch as the head coach for the U.S. national team, he's been on record saying he would rather U.S. nationals play in MLS consistently and show what they can do rather than riding the bench in Europe. And I mean, I agree wholeheartedly. Um, the whole, Berhalter having a starting 11 that was all European players, and then like half of them don't get playing time in Europe doesn't impress me much.
Also,
So you got the look, but do you got the touch? Don't get me wrong. Oh yeah, I think you're all right, but that's not going to win a World Cup in the middle of the night.
yeah. Just for other transfer targets that Charlotte should consider, Paul Pogba is coming back to football in January, and I think the director of Juventus has said it's over between Paul Pogba and Juventus. So we should definitely, like, it's a long shot, but we should 100% look to sign Paul Pogba.
I think that's a really interesting idea. And Ash, you've had some interesting ideas in the past about transfer targets. So I'm on board. I think, let's look at some of these players that we would not normally be in the conversation for. Because like Len is saying, we made the playoffs. Now we have some proof of concept. We have an established, name brand manager who has some brand awareness in Europe. We have Ashley Westwood, who obviously loves the city. He's a great ambassador for the team, not just in the locker room, but outside of it. We have Liel Abada coming in from Celtic. That's a huge name, who's obviously had what I consider more or less a successful season and a better landing place um, than a lot of international people may have expected when that move was made. Um, yeah, I think what we're missing is that A-list player, right? I think as long as they're a good locker room fit, we could support it. Joe, we got you on here, man. You made it. Tell me about the game tonight. What did you think about Charlotte FC's performance, slamming the door on DC United, securing the Southern Championship, fifth place in the Eastern Conference, and then we had the Ascent win tonight and the Independence tie. Independence locked in their playoff spot early, and Ascent is currently undefeated in USL Super League. What did you think about all the Charlotte soccer tonight, Joe?
Well, congrats to the Independents for locking in a playoff spot. The Ascent, I wish I could have went to that match tonight, but I chose to go to the Mint City watch party over at Hopfly. It was great tonight. Room was pretty packed, and it was great energy in the room. I know that there are some folks out there that were kind of hoping that we'd settle for a draw and play Cincy in the first round, but I don't like that, to be honest with you. I'm glad that that Charlotte went and really showed out tonight and put a dagger into DC. I don't like the juju that comes along with just playing to either draw or not lose. I want to see us going for it all the time. So I think when you do that, it's a bad mindset for the players. You know what I mean? Like, you could accept mediocrity. I want them to always be pushing, and I'm glad that they won in such an emphatic fashion tonight. Yeah, it was really great, man. Brant Bronico, definitely man of the match tonight. That, two assists that led, really good assists that led to goals. And another clean sheet by Kalina. Let's not forget that.
Oh, how can you forget, man? The commentators, I loved hearing Eric Krakauer on the call because most of the time with these away games, I'm watching, at a bar or a watch party, and you can never hear the audio. Um, Even when we do have a friendly commentator on the call who can actually pronounce the names of our players, unlike some of these like the Miami game. Like, what was that, dude? My goodness. But yeah, hearing Eric Krakauer on the call for the final game of the season, just incredible and wealth of knowledge from him. And yeah, he was saying Kalina easily goalkeeper of the year statistically in every category. And then we stamp it with another clean sheet tonight. So, like Joe was saying, cheers to Christian Kalina. Absolutely proven the haters wrong. Doesn't get an all-star bid. Comical, farcical that you do not give Christian Kalina an all-star bid. And I know we were all caping for him. I know that we repeated second year, second goalie as goalie wars champion, but you got to give Christian Kalina some respect. Honestly, like, put some respect on the name. We re-signed to a new contract. He's not going anywhere. Malanda, if we can keep him. Tim Ream. We got Andrew Privet, the Terminator. That back line is stacked, and it's not going anywhere. Nathan Byrne is re-signed. We got Jerry Ronan. We got a whole squad back there and that back line, just the best in MLS. You cannot convince me otherwise.
Also, while on the subject of Kalina, and I did not know this, Kalina becomes the first Charlotte FC player in history to play every single minute of the regular season. The total was 3,060 minutes.
That is super impressive.
Yeah, that's incredible.
I think they said on the broadcast that Westy uh, at some point had taken over the most miles ran in the league.
They did.
Oh, that's incredible because he was up there with the dude from Colorado last I heard, which was like mid-season, but he missed that one game from yellow card accumulation. And then he toned it down after that. After he missed the game, after he got after school suspension, he calmed it down with the yellow cards and was top of the class. So good for Westy, the reformed uh juvie over there, Ashley Westwood.
In fairness to Westwood, some of those yellow cards against him were complete and total bullshit.
Yeah, a lot of dissent, which highly questionable when the game's in the 98th minute of 3 minutes of added time and they give him a yellow for dissent. I'm not a fan of that, but it is what it is. Yeah, total distance traveled in MLS. Ashley Westwood is your workhorse leader. At his age, I'm pretty sure he's my age, so I feel targeted.
Oh.
All right, but yeah, hey, welcome in. If anyone else wants to speak, go ahead and shoot me a request. Uh, Joe, Dave, Len, Ash, any other thoughts on the game tonight? The playoffs coming up. I mean, what are you guys expecting against Orlando in that first series? Is it you think going to be a different approach from Charlotte FC from Dean Smith?
I think Dean's going to go back to the lineup that he's used in the past, the prior four matches. I think tonight I didn't listen to we couldn't hear the broadcast at the bar at all, but I'm assuming that Dean started Pat and Kerwin since Carroll and Liel had international duty. So I expect him to go back to the lineup that won us the previous four matchups. Basically, don't fix what's not broken. I think it's going to be a better matchup than the last time we faced Orlando.
Yeah, I agree. And you're right. Dean talked with Carroll and with Liel about playing after their Europa or their UEFA Nations League games, and they said they were good to go. But Dean wanted to give them the extra rest and not ask them to do too much, just coming off of that trip. But he did put them in the second half. I don't mind it. I mean, Brant Bronico absolutely tearing it up. I think you know he's crucial to this team's performance
It
in a
has
lot of
just been
ways.
confirmed. Brant Bonico, man, the match.
Yeah, there we go. Got to be, man. I thought he was going to stay on for a assist hat trick. I don't know what you call that, but yeah, Len, what do you think, man?
I just looked at the last time when we played in Orlando. Our back line was with Euronen on the left and Tim Ream in the middle with Melanda. I think in this, since we have kind of found a better formula, I think we have a different look to show Orlando, and I think we'll be in a much better position. Also, we started Diani. I love Urso starting because I love his energy and his physicality, and I also think he gets into the box more and can create the odd offensive threat. So I hope we go back to that lineup, like Joe said, because I think that will be a different look for Orlando, and I think we could bring it to them in their place.
And Orlando looked like a mess today. I had them on the 360, keeping track of everything, and their back line they look tired. I think the Champions League and the regular schedule starting to weigh down on them.
I wonder if the hurricane just went through there, what, a week and a half ago? I mean, I wonder if like they were distracted because of crap. I mean, it sounds silly, but that could have had an impact on their team. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just thinking outside the box here, but anything that gets them distracted, I'm okay for. I just think that we're a much stronger team than September 18th when it was only a month ago, but I think we're a much different team that we've showed since. I think that might be the last game we lost, actually.
Yes, I think it is the last game we lost to, and I agree with you. We are a much more cohesive team. Our chemistry has improved exponentially since that Orlando disaster. I mean, like even against Montreal, that game we played absolutely terribly, and then we played up at home with a special lineup that Dean Smith chose, and we absolutely tore them apart. If we can hang on to this momentum we got from DC and with Orlando losing, I'd say I am cautiously optimistic, which is how I usually am.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty incredible. Charlotte FC has 14 goals in the last 5 games, and that all started after the Orlando game, like Ash was saying. 14 goals in 5 games. That's the most in team history in a 5 game stretch. So we're on a historic run of form. What is it, Ash? You said the chemistry changed. What's the catalyst for that reaction, do you think, for Charlotte FC?
I think, honestly, I think it's moving Pep Biel to the wing and having Biel and Abada on the wings and Swiderski in the middle. And honestly, also Junior Urso. Junior Urso has been great in the midfield. He scored against New England. And also, I think the fact that we played against New England right after Orlando really gave us a confidence boost. But yeah, it's just the chemistry of the guys up front has gotten so much better than it was against Orlando and Montreal, and they're starting to work together instead of thinking of it as individuals.
Yeah, and I mean, I thought we did well before, but we had that 2 game stretch that was just brutal. Montreal and Orlando, where I was losing my faith in watching the team, and college football was starting up, and I was getting a lot more into that. And this is, I think, the second week in a row I haven't watched any college football on a Saturday, but I have watched soccer.
Is that because
Both people,
Vanderbilt beat Alabama?
well, and then we just lost to Tennessee today, so. Yeah, I haven't seen a whole lot of football lately. Maybe that's my fault they lost. But no, I have been watching the soccer games even when I'm busy doing something else. I make sure that I carve out the time to watch Charlotte FC and Independence when I can. But yeah, Joe, Len, what do you think is the catalyst for this offense?
I think Pep Biel's made a big difference. I think, like I said before, he just brings an instinct of the game that you can't teach. And I think also Junior, like I don't know if it was Ash. Ash, you just said it, but Junior Urso in the lineup, he has made a big difference as well. He even got his head on a ball in the first half tonight. It really wasn't kind of a soft header, but he got himself into the box and into position. So he fights both defensively. He's strong, but he can also put himself in position to be an influence in the final third. And I think those two things have kind of pushed our players up front and allowed Carroll's been starting a lot of the games, but allowing Carroll to have a little bit more freedom and a little more support around him. So I think that new lineup has really kind of pushed the team forward a lot and has made a big difference.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with that. I think Pep on the wing. Not that Pep was bad in the middle, but I think Pep on the wing. I think he and Nathan have been really well with those overlapping runs. A lot. They've clicked. And I'll tell you another thing is I really do think that it was probably now 5 matches ago that I think Carroll started sitting up a lot higher on the pitch and not coming. Now I know that he didn't start tonight, so but I think that a lot of the success that we've seen, I think a lot of it does have to do with Carroll's buy-in of Dean's system, and a lot of it is him staying up higher, kind of like Patrick does, right? Patrick doesn't really come back, to the middle too much. He stays up higher, and he keeps the defense in check for the opposing team. And I think Carroll's bought into that now, and that's helped us go on this run. So I want to give Carroll complete credit for his play too, because there was a time where we were a lot of us here on these spaces were in doubt that Carroll was a fit, and we were right at the time. He just wasn't fitting in. He looked off, and now he doesn't. Um, and I'm happy for that, because if he's doing well, we're doing well. So
Hey, that's what it is, man. If they're doing well, Charlotte's doing well. All right, guys. Final thoughts. I think we kind of wore out the subject here. I'm gonna dig up my old tweets about where Charlotte was going to finish this year and calling out the media, and go ahead and repost those just to get my shots in while I can. And what are you guys thinking and feeling tonight as you go to bed, as we await the schedule for tomorrow, the schedule release?
I'm watching. The Yankees have 2 men on base and they're down 2-0 in the 6th inning, Joe. So we need a big hit here.
yeah, absolutely.
That's what I'm going to leave you guys with. That's my other love, New York Yankees.
Yeah, let's go Red Sox. But anyway, yeah, I don't think the Red Sox are still in it. So I haven't watched baseball in like 10 years. But I hope you have a good evening with that. Any final thoughts, Dave, Ash, before we get going here?
Dave, I'll let you go first.
Let's enjoy it tonight and get ready for the playoffs.
All right, Ash, you want to take us out?
Sure. I'll end it with this. Charlotte owns the South for the damn crown, baby.
Yeah, for the crown, up the Jacks, and together we ascend. 7-point day in the Queen City. Crown Legacy starts the MLS Next Pro playoffs tomorrow night against Cincinnati on the road, 7 p.m. You can find that on your Apple Plus subscription. Let's support the Crown Legacy boys as they pursue their first MLS Next Pro title. Until next time, you can catch the replay of this here on Twitter or on our podcast feed. It's QCS Pod on Twitter, the Queen City Soccer Show on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Until next time, guys, Charlotte is a soccer city. Love it. What a weekend.